Welcome back into the Sports Source. You see there Tennessee's Citrus Bowl history. They've played in this game 5 times. They are 4-1. The only team they lost to in the Citrus Bowl was Penn State. Of course, they lose to Penn State every time they play them in a bowl game. But they've beaten Maryland, beaten Ohio State, beaten Northwestern, beaten Michigan. This Citrus Bowl fact brought to you by Daniel Hood Roofing. Is your roof ready for a very rainy winter? Get a free inspection to make sure from Daniel Hood Roofing. Speaking of VFL, some of the greatest in Tennessee history have played in the Florida Citrus Bowl. Let's take a look at that first Florida Citrus Bowl. You see there, Reggie White was the captain for that game, Tennessee number 92, the legend. And he went up against Boomer Esiason. So for the young people watching this who don't remember him as a player, just as a CBS analyst, here he was as a player. Here he was scrambling in this game and getting knocked out of the game by Dale Jones, and that was Reggie White that came down and separated his shoulder.
I'm not laughing at Boomer.
He was replaced in this game by Frank Reich, who was just fired as the Panthers head coach. Maryland couldn't run it against Reggie White. They couldn't throw screens against Reggie White either, as you'll see him run down to the guy from behind here. Not bad for a man of his size there. Reggie White was pretty good on that night. It was a white night for Tennessee in their defense in this Citrus Bowl game. And on offense, Alan Cockrell, longtime minor league baseball star, Alan Cockrell to Lenny Taylor for the game's first score. A name that a lot of people probably haven't heard in a long time. And then they turned it over to their offensive line in their run game. Fullback Sam Henderson with the long run there. And then Johnny Jones wrapped it up with 2 touchdown dives over the top. Remember when these plays were big in college football?
Why do people not do that anymore?
I get it. It's got to be a health thing. It's got to be a health thing. They don't like people diving and landing on their head.
Other than that.
But here's my point. We'll get to this in a second. I want to show you some more highlights in a second. My apologies. Those videos are old. But that was back when bowl games mattered.
Yeah.
We had Boomer Esiason played in it, got hurt. Frank Reich came in. Now, Frank Reich, nobody knew he was a backup at that time. He went on to a long pro career. Reggie White played in that bowl game. No opt-outs.
Right.
No, well, I'm going to the draft. We'll see. And no transfer portal. All that stuff, we can sit there and say it's good for the kids, and I'm all for it, and it's where the game was going, yada, yada, yada. It's not been good for the bowl games.
No. I mean, different world. Totally. Every one of these games that we're going to see highlights of meant something so much more than what it does now.
And I think it's Lane Kiffin that said they ought to move the opt-out date up instead of having it where it is. I don't know that would change that much. And part of that is, too, I think we all agree there's way too many bowls. And these kids are going to opt out. They might even opt out in the 12-team playoff. Who knows?
Well, Kirby Smart last night was talking about the same thing, that after his team destroyed a decimated Florida State team.
Right.
He's like, can we not see that something's wrong in this sport when we're at this point where everybody's opting out? All right. Let's take a look. Two of the other more memorable bowl games. 1996, January 1st, it was a rainstorm. Now, it's going to be clear and 70 tomorrow, but this Ohio State team came in jam-packed. Future Tennessee fan, they loved Eddie George when he was a Titan. Also on this team, current Titans head coach Mike Vrabel was playing for Ohio State. They were loaded right down to offensive lineman Orlando Pace, but as Ohio State tried to go up 14-0 late in the first half, Bill Duff stuffed that offensive line.
What a stuff by Duff.
And once again,
guy hasn't bought a drink in this state since that play.
I don't think anybody would say this is an old-timey game, but it looks old-timey.
Right.
You had a fullback.
Was that the fullback?
Was that the Cleatgate game where Ohio State complained about that?
Tennessee had 17.
And here you go. At the end of the half, they're down 7-0. They make the stop. They're content to just run the ball, just run the clock out. So they give it to Jay Graham. Look at this. Jay Graham gets up. Oh, he knew he almost broke it. But Tennessee saw that. Okay, let's just run it out. We got Manning. We got Kent. Let's just eat the clock. No, wait. Jay Graham wasn't content to run the clock out.
What a great run.
Great run. Goes down in Tennessee football history against Ohio State here.
Yep.
Chill bumps, man. It gives you chill bumps.
Chuck, get them chill bumps going. Then Tennessee takes the lead with another pair of Tennessee legends here. Peyton Manning to Joey Kent. And Kent, watch the concentration on this catch because the ball's underthrown here, but watch Kent.
Wow.
Great play.
No, that's a back shoulder.
Yeah, it was intentional.
They just didn't
do that.
Tennessee goes on to win that one 20-14. And then the next big one we'll look at was 2002. And that's against Michigan. Tennessee, they had every reason in the world to not care. They had blown a shot at the national championship. But Casey Clausen, in this basically consolation game, hits Kelly Washington here. Watch the passing game they had back in 2002. Now Casey Clausen to Dante Stallworth. Had a nice pro career. But the one everyone remembers, Casey Clausen, to 265-pound Jason Witten, who races past everyone in the Michigan secondary.
You know, and that's where the legend of Tennessee will always be faster than a Big Ten team score.
Looked it there.
Right there, that one play.
But it wasn't all offense. Michigan was held to 17 points. Here you see John Navarre can't complete a pass because he gets hit, gets some pressure. Who was it that impacted him on that throw? Might have been someone playing in his last game as a volunteer, our own Will Overstreet. Right there, who pretty much, darn him, looks the exact same today.
I know.
Can't be said for me. So anyway, Tennessee wins that one. But you had, back to this topic, you had big names playing these games. So I think the Citrus Bowl, there are a lot of people like, Citrus Bowl. I think it's kind of cool to be back in this one because this is a game. Reggie White played in one bowl, I believe, in his career at Tennessee. That was it. Yeah. It's the only one where you could say Manning played in it, Graham played in it, Witten played in it, Reggie White played in it. I think that's cool, but then also you had guys that played in it back then.
Oh, yeah.
In itself was cool, the fact that you just don't have the opt-outs like
I
you do
mean,
today.
Will Overstreet could have opted out of that game if he had wanted to.
And in some cases, some of the former Vols have told me the way to enhance your draft status was to go out and have a good game in a game that mattered against a pretty good opponent. And then you put something like Joe Milton could have done, but he decided not to.
Those last two were a real credit to Philip Fulmer. Beating Ohio State was an upset at the time. That Ohio
Right.
State
Oh,
team
it's
was
huge to me.
And the other, give him credit for the Michigan game too. You went out and you lost to LSU in that SEC title game. Ohio State had lost to Michigan and blown their shot in '96. They came in, sleptwalked through that rainstorm. Tennessee whipped them. Tennessee got it together against Michigan. They had every right just to come out and go, we don't want to be here.
Yeah.
We should have been at the Rose Bowl
Yeah.
playing Miami. And instead they came out and laid a licking. Those have to go up there as two of Philip Fulmer's best wins.
No,
ever at Tennessee.
and it was such a big deal to be playing Ohio State
Yes.
and to be playing Michigan.
Only
It
time you
was
ever
such
played
a-
them.
Right.
Yeah, it was such a big deal for the fans then too, and it used to be just a big deal to go to a bowl game. Bill Battle would have loved to have gone to a bowl that last year before. I think it was his last year before he got canned. I mean, going to a bowl game meant something up until what? 15 years ago, 12 years ago? And now it means less and less, it seems, every
And
year.
it's because there are, as Chuck says, tons of games now. But the fact that the playoff
Yeah.
started, people said the playoff will kill the bowls for years. And I was one of the ones who scoffed at that. And most people said, who cares? Okay, got what you wanted. And now you throw in the transfer portal and opt-outs and everything else into it, and it has kind of killed the bowl situation.
It's almost to the point, John, I thought about this. If there's NIL money, do you get a bonus to play in the bowl game?
Yeah, but here's the thing. If, let's say you're going to be a number 3, if you're Caleb Williams at USC, how much are you going to have to pay me to play and risk a pro career?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
You have to give me a $20 million NIL deal to play in your bowl game?
No.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right.
I'm talking about to eliminate the 20 opt-outs or more, that type of thing.
When we come back, what's the Vols' best game plan for upsetting higher-ranked Iowa? We'll discuss that next. Game plans on the Sports Source.